Welcome to ADHD Focus, where we explore what ADHD really means, from diagnosis to real-life solutions and how to navigate it with confidence. This is your guide to understanding ADHD and living well with it. Here's your host, Dr. David Pomeroy.
Hello, this is Dr. David Pomeroy, host of the podcast ADHD Focus with David Pomeroy, MD. So glad you could join us today. I think we have a very interesting program and one that is an increasing issue for all of us, really, and that's screen use for those people with ADHD, which is different than for others. My guest today is Jeremy Edge, who is a international certified gaming disorder counselor. He has a practice of counseling patients in the Dallas area, and his practice is escapingthee.com is where you can find information about him. And Jeremy, glad to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Pomeroy. Really glad to be here too.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into this particular area of counseling.
So I started my counseling journey around 2013 or so, and I noticed that a lot of clients I was working with struggled with video games and pornography were kind of the two big ones. And there wasn't really a lot happening in the field at that time that was specifically focused in those areas. I'd worked in a couple of different areas with kids and with adults and with teenagers. And a lot of it was young men that I was seeing. And I saw that, man, that we need to be able to get to have more focused on some of these two particular issues around just screen use in general, but in particular, video games was a big one that was coming up, that was causing some sleep issues and academic issues. And I noticed in myself too, I played video games growing up. It was a good thing. It was a not so good thing sometimes. And so I would kind of understood that element of trying to balance it and the struggle that it can have. And so I started to try to find like, hey, is there a way to kind of focus more on this and get more trainings to really help a lot of clients just kind of struggling to balance these activities?
Yeah, that's definitely something that is part of our life, like it or not, and to whatever degree, and all kinds of different ways to get sucked into it, whether it's YouTube shorts or you could say pornography or video games. And I think the video games are the big one, particularly for younger people, but at any age. So we talk about screen use, and then there's a difference in kind of an extreme gets into addiction. So let's talk about defining addiction and what that is, because I think a lot of people have a misconception of what addiction is, and to say, oh, well, I can stop anytime, but then find out they can't. That may be part of it.
Right. Yeah. So addiction can be either behavioral, from what I understand of it, it can be a behavior we can be addicted to, or an activity or a substance. And so we can be addicted to alcohol, to a drug of some kind, or to an activity. And so it can be sex, it can be food, it can be a type of screen use. A lot of activity. We can be addicted to work, right? And so just anything that is providing us with a lot of positive reinforcement or kind of enforcing us, and we're gaining something from it. And it's something where we are gaining something from it, so it can be some positives, but addiction plays into where it's causing more problems than good, more harm than good. It's something that we cannot stop. We try to stop and we cannot. People around us are noticing that it's becoming more and more of an issue. It's something we've tried to maybe stop in the past, but we are not able to. We're not able to change that relationship. We are noticing there's issues with our work, our family life, our personal health is declining. It's kind of affecting a lot of different areas in our lives. And so addiction is something where it's, again, where we don't have that level of control that we maybe think we do and we don't have. And so that's where it becomes a true addiction.
And there's usually an aspect of craving that is looking for ways to spend time doing it. And that may extend to, I'll just play one round of this game while I'm at work, and then get into, and it's 3 hours later, just not noticing how much time is spent, and usually some rationalizations about it. Well, I needed a break. And I think a lot of the times the addiction, the behaviors are escaping something else, escaping uncomfortable feelings. Work's boring. I don't like it. Whatever. This is more fun. So there's a craving, and also I think an out of proportion reaction to if it's taken away, whether it's
Right.
your internet doesn't work or parents take all your electronics away or try to put restrictions on use. And I know some people are very adept at working around that, even learning how to program or hack programs so they can stop the blocking programs and all kinds of things. So really, it's an extreme of wanting to protect that, spending time thinking about how they're going to get some more, and then, as you say, interfering with sleep, staying up way too late at night, and sometimes missing meals, and certainly not getting socialization with other people. And I think it can be insidious in that the person who's addicted may not realize how much it's affecting them because they're just focused on, yeah, playing games is really cool. And I got to this other level and I'm getting really good and I beat these other 4 guys and whatever. So it can, until someone points it out, and then usually there's denial or rationalization of, no, it's not that bad, or other people do that. Unfortunately, I think sometimes it's, well, I see dad doing that, and dad may not be addicted in the same way, but comes home and plays some video games at night, whatever. So the parent model is a big part of it.
That's a good point. Yeah. And that withdrawal is a big part of addiction as well, is if they do not obtain the substance or do the activity on some regularity, then there'll be either an emotional withdrawal, there'll be a lot of anger or frustration, or physical withdrawal symptoms as well. And so that withdrawal symptoms are kind of very much in note with those who can't control an activity or a substance. And so you're right. Yes, there's a lot of emotional challenges that can come from that too.
So how is it that people with ADHD, whose brains just work differently than others, and that's the pattern that we call ADHD, how is it that people with ADHD are more susceptible to the gaming use, for instance?
It's a good question. So the research I've seen, there's a bidirectional relationship with people who have ADHD and video games, meaning when someone has ADHD, they're more prone to want to play video games. And when they play video games, those ADHD symptoms are worsened. They're exacerbated. And so their executive functioning gets worse. Their impulse control gets worse. And a lot of games really reward some of the aspects of elements of ADHD. And so you don't have to have really good planning or executive functioning skills when you jump into a game. It's organized for you. There isn't a need for deep thought because a lot of activities are quick and almost impulsive in how you act and react to different things. And so the more that you engage in just an activity, we can take video games out of it. But if we engage with any other type of activity that is very quick, very fast paced, that doesn't require us to think critically about something, it's going to exacerbate that muscle in us, or that element in us of quick decision making and just making a reactive choice versus thinking through something methodically and deeply. And so it's hard sometimes for teenagers, for adults, for kids to focus on something long term when let's say they come home and they relax after a long day, and then they are able to play some games to then go and do some homework, let's say after that. It's really hard to do that because their mind, or let's say a long weekend or a vacation, right? It's really hard coming from summer break. This is very pertinent to a lot of us. Whenever our kids go back to school from summer break, they've been gaming a lot. Their mind has shifted a little bit to be reinforced to do something that's quick.
Yeah, that's their reward. That's their dopamine hit.
Exactly. And
And
so it's hard to be able to then shift to go into more methodical, deep thought where you have to sit down and either absorb information that's a very slower pace than what you're used
mhm,
to, and then be able to regurgitate and think and respond and to do an activity that's at a much slower pace than what
yeah,
you were just around.
and also requires problem solving skills. And the way we learn how to solve problems is failing at doing it and then
Right.
figure out other ways to do it. That's the problem solving part.
Yes.
Well, games, the incentive is succeeding, not failing. And if you fail, you just push the button, restart or whatever, and then you get another chance.
Right.
Um, and it, like you say, it is a slower, you can't be im impulsive solving math problems and all of a sudden do a whole bunch of it all at once and, get to the answer.
There is some, I will, so to that point, that's a really good point, is about problem solving. Video games are good at being able to work on your problem solving. So you're able to work through something, and if it doesn't work, you can try again, but you have to really do think about how you do that activity differently in the game to be successful. And so yes, the point is success, but the process is a very good cognitive skill, I think, of problem solving. And so that can be really good. It's fast paced problem solving, but it is still, you have to do something different than you did
Yeah,
before to be successful.
yeah. And if you don't get to a certain level, maybe you analyze, okay, what could I have done? Or and then I've seen people that they've played a given game so much that by now they aren't thinking. When they go into this room, they're going to be looking here and then shooting here and here and throwing this bomb there, and it just looks like, wow, you're just dancing around, and they've learned that pattern because of the reward of, hey, I got that guy, I got through the room and past this wall that couldn't be just climbed. We had to figure out a way to get through it or whatever. Um, so there is some problem solving in there. And then once it's done, great, you know how to do it. Well, once you learn the basics of, say, multiplying fractions, then hopefully you've learned how to do it, and then that becomes something you can do building into the next problem. But learning how to multiply fractions is certainly much less interesting than getting to another level in the game or opening something so you can explore another area, whatever it is. Um,
Yes. And there's a lot of pieces to video games too that make it interesting and even addicting. And so it's not just the progression or some of the activities in like the actual like leveling up,
mhm.
let's say, of a standard game, but there's a lot of novelty. There's a lot of newness, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of, not at every time you use a lot of different games out there. So a lot of novelty in just the newness of the games, but the games are designed to be different and new in each level and items. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of gambling mechanics that are in games. There's a lot of variable reward that are in video games. And so you go ahead and you
Mhm.
kind of defeat a big boss and you get some items that drop. Well, there's random items that drop, and there's random really good items, or there can be really random bad items. And so a lot of players are looking for that random really good item. And so they'll do
Mhm.
that boss over and over and over again to try to defeat them to be able to get some rare items. So a lot of times it's interesting working with my clients. Sometimes people will play the games not because they're liking the game, but they're desiring the gambling mechanic of it. They enjoy the
Mhm.
gambling aspect of these games. There's a lot of different types of games, and so different types of mechanics can be around that. If there are what's called skins, which is a cosmetic look for different items in the game. In some
Mhm.
games, you can basically roll a dice or gamble to try to
Uh,
get a nice skin or not. And there's Counter-Strike Go is a first-person shooter kind of competitive game. And so you can open up
mhm.
boxes to try to get a chance to get a rare item. But that mechanic is a gambling slot machine
Yeah.
mechanic.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
so it's a part of a game, yes, but opening up a loot box is gambling, is not the game. Going and playing the first person shooter game is all about strategy and competition and working together and teamwork. And so if your client really loves something in the game, explore that. That's what my encouragement is, even for parents, explore what they like about the game. It can be, again, just the aspects of the game itself, or something else within it that has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah. And I've seen, speaking about the gambling aspect, people who say, well, I do day trading, and it becomes pretty evident that they're gambling on whether they can make the right moves and can they catch this and that. And I think they may think, or maybe they do really well one week or whatever, that, well, yeah, this is the way I'm earning some money. But I wonder really if they total it up, for the amount of time they spend, are they really earning that much, or it's just the fun of the gambling part and the attraction for them, and not what someone would say. Yes, you're betting on a game. You're using a betting gambling site, which is a whole nother deal, because that definitely is, you get to be a gambling addiction. And I know some people in my practice who literally, they were not paying the mortgage so they'd have money to be able to gamble online. And pretty soon the spouse is wondering, how come we're getting these foreclosure notices on the house? And he hadn't paid the mortgage for 6 months. And so there really are impacts on the entire family.
Yes, sir.
And
for sure.
The same with a teenager who's isolating in their room all the time, not really talking to anybody, not interacting with the family. So they're losing their socialization skills. And I ask, 10, 11, 12-year-old boys, because usually the boys tend to be more into gaming.
Right.
Do you talk with your friends? Oh, yeah, all the time. Okay, are you guys chatting while you're playing a game? Or are you actually in somewhere where you're talking with people in person? Oh, yeah, we're in the game. And as far as they're concerned, they're talking with friends a little bit, but you certainly aren't learning how to pick up nonverbal cues and other things that go into communication. So it's a real loss of a process there that is part of maturing as an adolescent into adulthood.
Potentially, yes, sir. Yeah, I think I kind of equate it though to like playing a pickup basketball game, outside. It's where if someone were to play a sport outside, their focus is on communicating just enough to do the activity really well. And the nuances that they pick up from social cues, that comes from getting outside of the game itself. If they were to be in a call together, or they were then after they play the game, then they meet in person and go get lunch. Like that would be a good way to help learn that communication skills, nuances. Sure. But when it's like the activity itself, it's like a competitive, way to communicate and work together.
Mm-hmm. And they're maybe seeing their friends at school, though some people say, I'm playing games with this person in Russia and someone else is in Peru.
Right.
And well, you aren't seeing them the next day at school. You aren't having any in-person interaction.
That's true. Yeah.
So how would parents, it's usually parents that are going to see, or maybe it's other adults, how would they identify kids that seem at risk for developing into a gaming disorder, an addiction, or behavioral addiction?
In general, if they're having a hard time just controlling this activity when boundaries are put up, and there's been just resistance and problems and challenges with games being the center of it, that would be just of concern for me. If they have ADHD or are on the spectrum, then they're more predisposed to potentially having a problem with games. But if they're not, if they don't have those diagnoses, then that's fine too. They can still struggle with it. But I would encourage parents to just focus on understanding their kids' gaming, and understanding what they like about it, understanding kind of where they're coming from with it, and see it as any other sport, any other hobby or pastime. There's a lot of nuance to it for sure, but I would just encourage help better learn about it. If we are worried about addiction, we can look at different scales. There's the Lemons 9, which is a scale that talks through basically all of the criteria in the DSM-5 for internet gaming disorder. So it's not a full diagnosis, but it's still something that is a really great way to help kind of assess for problems. It's if all of their thinking or a lot of their thinking is focused on video games, if they feel unsatisfied because they want to play more, if they feel pretty miserable or unhappy when they're unable to play games, that's another sign. If they're unable to reduce their time playing when they've been repeatedly told to play less, if they're played games to not think about things that are annoying, things that are frustrating to them. If they've had arguments with others and have had consequences because of their gaming, that's another sign. If you've hidden the time from others to play games, if you've been sneaky or kind of, lied about how much you've played, that's another sign. If you've lost interest in other hobbies or activities because all you wanted to do was play games, that's another sign. And finally, if you have experienced serious issues or conflicts with family or parents, with friendships because of your gaming behavior, then that's another sign too. I would discourage us though from thinking about this with kids, with young kids. If there are signs with some of these things, then that's a sign for us as the parent to implement different boundaries and consequences and just healthy boundaries with games. Kiddos are just, if they are left in a candy store for 2 or 3 days, they're probably going to have a pretty big, tummy ache and not going to feel very good, and GI issues for the next week, right? Like they're going to have some issues. And so they don't have regulation skills. They need us to help regulate for them. And if we offer just an unlimited supply of candy or an unlimited supply of video games or an unlimited supply of screen use or TV or YouTube,
phone use or whatever,
they're going to gorge themselves. Yeah. They're not going to have self-restraint. And so that's why it's really important for us to help, for one, model that, but for two, to be able to just teach them, hey, this is fun. Enjoy this. Just kind of hang out and watch some TV together. Or you can go play some games. Let's talk about this as you play. Tell me about this Minecraft build and what you're doing. And then, let's go out and play some games outside. Let's go out to the park. Let's go have dinner together. And so, it's about kind of modeling that balance. But if you have a teenager, if you have a young adult who exhibits those symptoms, then that is 5 or more of those criteria, then that would be considered for a long time, a year. There could be an issue for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely one of the classic experiments with ADHD is in a room where there was a ability to observe the person in the room, have young children, 5, 6, 7, and put a marshmallow on the table.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You can eat the marshmallow, but if you don't eat it, and 5 minutes later I come back and it's still there, then I'll give you a second one. And it's very interesting, at least reading the description of kids sitting on their hands and looking everywhere else and trying not to. And kids with ADHD were more of them than others would give in and have the marshmallow. That is, they wanted the immediate reward and weren't able to kind of go with the planning of saying, I can have 2 of them instead of just 1. And so foregoing the immediate reward to get the long term wasn't, it's just more difficult with ADHD. So getting that immediate reward of the game and getting to the next level or being able to restart it, get to that next level, without seeing that, there's implications of doing that, and it is true. It's not their fault that they get sucked into it, number one, because the game's designed to do that, to keep you playing, and because the ADHD brain is more susceptible to going for that immediate reward. And then there's the dopamine hit with that, and it feels good. And naturally, people want to keep doing what feels good. Uh, the other factor I think that comes into the addiction paradigm, I guess, is that the same amount of whatever it is, 2 drinks or 1 hour playing a game, doesn't give the same satisfaction. So one has to increase it.
Right.
And the tolerance to, and certainly with substances, it's maybe a little bit easier to see that, well, 2 drinks doesn't do it. But if I have 3, then I get to that kind of relaxed buzz and I can let go the stresses of the day.
Right.
It's really aren't letting go. You're just postponing them or escaping them. And with gaming, that may be just spending more time or getting into more challenging, maybe more risky games. Risk being, yes, your character may get killed or I don't know, whatever, all other bad things that can happen. And you're having the risk on it. And I don't understand most video games. I'd have to, and I think this is where a parent could sit down and say, I'm interested to know about this game and what you enjoy about it. Could you explain to me what you're doing? So that it's parents showing an interest and also learning how that game works. It'd be nice if there was a learn about games course for parents so you could learn some of the details.
Yes, sir. So actually there is. I highly
Really?
recommend actually to check out Dr. Alok Kanoja's book, How to Raise a Healthy Gamer. It is phenomenal. I think he is the leader. He is the leader in the field on healthy gaming, on the aspect of integrating mental health and video games and balanced gaming. It's a fantastic read. It's a great audiobook. He's a Harvard grad psychiatrist who struggled with gaming himself for a while, but talks with a lot of gamers on his Twitch stream and helps find balance and helps provide a lot of good mental health ideas for parents. And it's a guide for parents to help navigate that realm
Great.
of this. So it's fantastic. I worked on a course with some colleagues at the Better Institute. And so it's called the Power Up Player or the Powered Up Parents course. And so it's an online course that we've developed to help parents and teenagers navigate healthy gaming and balanced gaming. And so it's the Powered Up courses. Those are pretty neat for on-demand courses on that. But Dr. Alok Kanoja with his How to Raise a Healthy Gamer is top notch.
And so the names of the authors, is it 2 authors or 1 person?
One person. Sorry, Dr. Alok Kanoja is his name, or he's known as Dr. K. Just Dr. K is his kind of nickname in the community. But if we type in, if you guys search How to Raise a Healthy Gamer, it's a white cover with green little images. It's and white and green and black images. Really great book. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. The kind of resource that when I first heard about, ask your teenager about the game and what they like about it. Thought, boy, it's way beyond Mario Brothers and
oh yeah.
And I was very glad you could crash into walls and keep going because I could never do that. And my son enjoyed gaming. He didn't really get into it too much. He played and this was, so if he was 12, that's 20 years ago. Games weren't nearly so sophisticated. And more often, 3 or 4 guys would come over and they'd be playing games together, but in the same room.
Right. Some LAN parties, local area network parties.
And the internet wasn't going that fast, and all the things to be able to do it totally remotely weren't developed as much then.
Right.
Well, those are great resources. And for people listening, I will have those mentioned in the introductory text related to the show so that you can have those names and titles right in front of you and some text as well. So that the other one other aspect, I think, and this gets into as a family, how to approach that. And I'd say screen use, whether it's just scrolling on the phone. And I think there's an addiction to phone use,
Oh, yeah.
not necessarily related to gaming, where it's just, yes, looking at YouTube Shorts or Instagram or looking at the news. And some people tell me, yeah, I can't not look at the news after I get in bed and start scrolling my phone. And that's a problem because with ADHD, you don't recognize how much time has passed. With the design of those shorts kind of thing or the news, you don't realize how much time has passed because
Sure.
it's fast paced, it's different, it's changing. And there can be interesting things, but why moths are attracted to light is not something I really need to learn at
hmm
midnight. So what's a good way for a family to approach that if they want to prevent it from becoming a problem, or maybe a parent realizes, man, I'm just spending way too much time doing this. This is getting in the way of my functioning life. How can a family approach that?
I think it's about having, for one, just healthy conversations with each other. It's helping, for one, have awareness on where being honest with themselves and how their screen use is as the parent and what they see in their kiddos. And being able to just be honest with where they are. And then once they understand where they are, then we can be able to course correct, to adjust, or to continue with what's going on. If they notice they're worried and trying to do some preventative measures, it's good to kind of see it from my perspective as healthy portions. I kind of see screen use kind of like food. What we eat and how much we eat matters on our health and our well-being, our balance. If we have a balanced lifestyle, we balance diets, we're going to be healthy. Candy is great, but Halloween just once a year, probably, hopefully for a reason, right? If we are able to see screen use as a similar way, if we're able to be very productive with our screen use, we're able to do it for work. We're also able to connect with others and to be able to build our social network that way. And then also be able to relax and unwind for some part of it. Sure, it's great. We can kind of, I think, divide screen use into three major categories: productive, entertainment, and social. And if we're able to see screen use as one of those three buckets, then we can be able to allocate how are we being healthy or unhealthy or balanced. If most of our time, most of our usage is on strictly being entertained online, we're just using our devices for fun, to escape from stress, to unwind, and we're not using it to be productive at all. We're not using it to learn something new. We're not using it to connect with people. Then it might be unbalanced. It might not be healthy for us. If we do use it for the most part to answer emails, to do our schoolwork, to be able to learn something new or to create a new project, to be creative, fantastic. It's awesome. We're also able to use that same product to relax and to unwind, to watch some TV at the end of the day or watch some sports or to be able to play a game. Sure, that's fine. But because that's in an appropriate kind of portioned out amount. Exactly. Yeah. It's helping you be the healthiest version of yourself. Humans thrive at working and being able to do some work on a consistent basis and struggling and then being able to relax as well. If we focus primarily on our lifestyle, let's take out games entirely, screens entirely. We focus our lifestyle on just relaxing and just, trying to just not working, just relaxing. That's not really a healthy lifestyle in general. I would say. And so screens can exacerbate those things. It can help us work more efficiently, or it can help us relax more efficiently.
Yeah. Or overwork and people who,
exactly correct.
A lot of people with ADHD are masking the difficulties they're having at work by, well, I'm just going to work some in the evening. And they find because they haven't been able to maintain their attention on work during the day in their workplace, and they're bouncing around to different projects or just can't get started on anything, then after dinner, they're working and doing the work that they hadn't done between 7 o'clock and midnight or later.
Yep.
And then, the drivers of focus with ADHD are the pressure, the deadline, um, and wanting to keep up and either not lose a job or at least look good and see I'm doing a good job, but they're sacrificing 5 hours a night in having to work. And that's maybe a little different than workaholism. It's not like they're choosing to and they just want to work,
Right.
but they literally feel they have to. So someone in the workplace is going to think, well, you don't have a problem. You're focusing fine. They don't see what they're, tracking what someone's doing, but yeah, they produce the work just like kids in school. Oh, you have great grades. You can't have ADD. Yes, you can. But it's when do you do the homework and the pattern? So I think that the healthy screen use is one, and when it gets out of proportion, particularly to me, one clue is whether it's falling asleep in the living room watching TV because you just feel like, oh, I deserve a break. I call the McDonald's effect. I deserve a break.
Yeah.
Um, or have to or feel compelled to look at the phone once you get in bed. That's a way I relax or have me time. That's just dangerous because that time can slip away.
Mhm.
Like it can for anyone, but certainly with ADD. And that's where having something that reminds you how long you've been doing it. I recently got a new tablet, and there's not a setting that I put in there I can remember. But there'll be a little thing at the very top of the screen that says used 1 hour, 30 minutes. Maybe I'm watching a soccer game on YouTube, so yeah, it's
Mhm.
going to be a longer period
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah.
But if it's something else, and for me, if I'm reading something, I need to be aware, oh, I probably should looking at getting to bed instead of still reading this interesting book. Um, so there are things built into um, phone programs in terms of not just showing people, bring to awareness the time you're spending, or being able to set limits on how long you're going to be there. You've got 2 more minutes and it's going to shut off, and then everything on your home screen turns black and white, and you can't get back into YouTube or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that and parental controls, they can work for adults too. You set it up, and then you give the password to your spouse or a trusted friend. You can't
Yeah.
get back there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. Make it tough for you.
Yeah. And that's helping. It's a positive sign of wanting to have that self-control, but recognizing that it's just really difficult to resist picking up the phone. And part
Right.
of that is ADHD, looking for that immediate reward. Um, escaping the stress, or for some people, I think the boredom of going to bed is
Right.
boring, just lying here waiting to go to sleep.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
gets to be a habit pattern to need to break
That
that
habit
habit.
patterns. Yeah. The habit pattern is a great point. Dr. Pomeroy is being able to there's just so they're used to high stimulation activities online can just be very stimulating.
And I've seen suggestions about having a family screen policy, or sitting down as a family and saying, okay, we're going to have a contract. And this is where parents have to own up to the fact that this is a potential problem for me. And I'm going to be honest and say, yeah, I find I'm getting on Instagram a lot more than I should. So I'm going to need to live up to this policy that we decide on. Um, and I
Those are
think that,
great.
gives the teen input, and yeah, they may argue for longer periods of time, but a rule like you do your homework and you show me that homework or show me that you turned it in, then I'll unlock some time on your game or whatever else.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Having that contract can be very helpful. It helps everyone get on the same page, have the same understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It helps everyone know what the expectations are. A lot of times families can get into trouble if there's just unspoken expectation and unspoken boundaries, because then when those boundaries are enforced, there's no bedtime, let's say, given, no screen time specifically given of when you have to get off. And then, but
Mm-hmm.
in the parent's mind, you need to get off by 9 o'clock. You need to get off, you need to be off by around 9 to be able to go to bed by 9:30 or 10. If the kid doesn't know that and they say, okay, get off, just go ahead and get off,
Yeah,
right?
all of a
We got
sudden.
we got off right now, right? It's time to go to bed. There's then there in their mind, they are really frustrated and irritated because they could be in the middle of something that they can't just stop and
Mm-hmm.
pause. Games these days is a lot of it is live, so you can't pause it just in the middle of it and save your
Mm-hmm.
progress and go back later. You'll lose progress, so even get penalized sometimes in some games for leaving. And so that was where behavior issues come from. If there's not those set expectations and we're all on the same page. If
Mm-hmm.
the kid knows, even if he's young, they know that 9 o'clock is when I got to get off, go to bed. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. 8:45. All right, 9 o'clock, I'm
Yep.
done. Play with you guys tomorrow, right? Like, and so it's a clear, smoother transition. Still gonna
Mm-hmm.
be tough, maybe, but that anger outburst and those behavior problems will probably happen less.
Yes, and I think a couple good points on there. Certainly having a reminder, a warning that, hey, it's 15 minutes. And that may not be something that's set up to happen on screen so much as it's an alarm on a phone or literally an alarm clock, um, or a parent saying, hey, there's 15 minutes more, just want to let you know, um, and kind of in a helpful manner, not a warning or a threat. Um,
Right.
and the other part is that a parent understanding the game that it is live and you can't just stop because many games in the past you could stop and save your progress and start over. That may be what a parent is used to, but games where you're playing with someone and I know very little about Dungeons and Dragons or Magic or those kinds of things, but those are an ongoing interactive game and you can't pause the action because there are other people playing.
Right.
It's
Right.
like saying, okay, we're playing Monopoly, but we're going to stop here. You guys can keep going, but I'll come back and I'll be able to save my place and it'll be like when I was here. No, that doesn't work.
Right. Right. It's a good point, right? If you're playing kind of like a fun, kind of collaborative thing, then sometimes it is like not at a stopping point. That's a good point. And a lot of times too, games are very competitive. It's like in the middle of a
Mm-hmm.
soccer game, trying to say, okay, instead of like, blowing the whistle, it's like, okay, we have to actually stop this entire game, this motion of movement of the offense and defense and like go get a water break. Like it's, that planned hydration break is there for a reason, and then they're able to keep
Yeah.
playing. And so that's why another element too is behavior issues can happen with kids because there's a level of intensity, a level of focus with some of these competitive games
Mm-hmm.
that when they're broken out of that flow state and they have to do something or they have to get off, then it's also another element of irritation because they're already tense because they're playing a competitive,
Mm-hmm.
difficult, challenging activity, challenging game,
And
sport even. So
and that's definitely, I mean, there's value to that because there are times when anytime any of us in life, you're in I mean, not competitive situation, but it is you have to come up with something
yeah,
now. You're intensely into it,
yep,
and that intense focus, hyper focus, it's rewarding, it's challenging. That's fun. That's a ADHD strength, if you will, to being
yep,
able to hyper focus in a problem. Um, but that's where it can backfire with excessive gaming. But I think also, as you say, interrupting someone we're in that flow state is very frustrating right at first. And even if that flow state is someone at work, they're deep in programming and they're solving some coding problem, and then someone interrupts with, "Hey, I've got a problem, and could you help me with this?" Well, if you're the lead of the team and the manager, that's what you're supposed to do. Meanwhile, it's going to be hard to get back into that dense, complex area in the coding. And, hopefully adults can learn to bypass or deflect or deal with their own frustration.
Right.
But, and this, I think, there's a developmental stage aspect to it. As you said, younger kids of 5, 6, 7-year-old, I don't think they ought to be necessarily playing games, and certainly not interaction games and adventure games or whatever at that age. And I know there are some age-related or developmental stage-related suggestions on screen use or type of things on the screen that are appropriate for people of different ages. And that's
Yes. Yeah. And so a lot of times I've heard in my training say it doesn't really matter. Let's focus on the type of screen use instead of the time. And so like what we're doing online is sometimes more important to focus on rather than how much time is being spent. And time can be a good barometer to gauge things. But really, if let's say like we're having a 3-hour period and, on a Saturday, and someone, a teenager is on, Duolingo for an hour of it, and then is able to write an essay, start writing their essay for the next 2 hours. Well, in that 3 hours, is all productive. It would make sense for them to then go after that to go play some Fortnite with their friends for an hour or two after. And so, yeah, the total is 5 hours, but really it's just 2 of just fun entertainment stuff. Now, if another kid was like 3 hours of just playing Minecraft and then jumping onto Roblox and then being able to maybe, watch some YouTube. And then after that saying, okay, by the way, Mom, can I go play Fortnite with my friends? That's a very different dynamic. That's a very different experience for those kids.
Right. And that gets to that idea of balance.
Yes.
That screen use in and of itself isn't bad.
Yeah.
We all need to do it. And whether it's kids in pretty early grades having to use laptops or iPads or whatever in their school, and certainly get higher up in grades, and that's pretty much where it's at. I went to visit the high school I attended, and this was 40 years later at a reunion, and got to visit a class, and it was, I think, a history class. Everybody's sitting there with their laptops open, and the teacher would ask a question, and somebody would be researching, and there'd be talk, and then the teacher would say, "Oh, and Adam, what did you find?" And that person's talking about what they found online.
Yeah.
And they had been researching the area. And it's not just find me the answer, but it was part of the discussion and the way people could bring up different aspects of it, and almost a competition. Well, I found something different than everybody else.
Yep.
And I was fascinated. That was a productive use of a laptop in class, and it wasn't just to take notes or whatever.
Great point. Yes, sir.
So there's some valuable places for screens.
For sure.
And it's part of our lives. So learning how to integrate that into a healthy balance, I think that's the key. And probably the earlier, the better in terms of having the discussion or modeling good screen use behaviors is important for the whole family.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a very good point, Dr. Pomeroy.
So we've covered a lot of ground, and I think had a good discussion. And Jeremy, I appreciate your expertise in being able to bring some clarity to the screen use issues and what can become a gaming disorder or screen use disorder, finding that balance between using screen time as productivity, entertainment time, social interaction to some degree. Those are all valid uses in balance. And when it gets out of balance, that's when it's time to deal with the problem.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So my guest today has been Jeremy Edge, who is a counselor and owner of a counseling practice, escapethee.com. And he is a international gaming disorder certified counselor and has had a lot of experience with some gaming himself, so he understands the whole culture of it and also helping people deal with some of the risks and pitfalls in that inherent in that culture. So thanks, Jeremy, for being here. It's been a great to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Pomeroy, for inviting me out, and I hope this was helpful for everyone. If anyone would like to reach out for more questions or work together, feel free to reach out to my website. It's www.escapingthee.com. Thank you again for inviting me on.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Yes,
folks,
sir.
Thanks for listening and watching. I appreciate you being here, and give us a listen next time around, or anytime. You can find the podcast ADHD Focus with David Pomeroy, MD, streaming on Apple TV, also Roku and Fire Stick, whatever those things are. I have no idea, but apparently that's where you can find them, as well as on all podcast channels. So thanks a lot, folks. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to this edition of ADHD Focus with Dr. David Pomeroy. This show is not intended to be a recommendation for diagnosis or treatment of any condition for any specific person. Please consult your mental health professional or doctor managing your ADHD or mental health issues about any diagnosis or treatment-related information that you hear on the show. Refer your ADHD provider to this show if he or she would like more information.